Well, I'd never seen it because I guess when it aired, I wasn't here, so I didn't have a chance to see it till I just saw it a few days ago, and it was great to see it. And I have to tell you, the great thing about seeing it was to see Carol Burnett, and she's so that opening part of her show where she speaks to the audience and she's so. There's never been anyone like her doing that kind of thing. She's so gracious, she's so kind, she's so respectful to her audience, and she's just, you can't help but love her. I mean, I like her tremendously, as we do in real life anyway. She's great. She's wonderful. I don't think I did know that till it kind of happened, but she makes you so comfortable that there's. It's just a very, very nice, comfortable thing to do. You don't get nervous because of her presence and because of the way she handles things, which is, I think people in the audience still get nervous because she makes everybody feel comfortable. I love her show, her generosity with Harvey Korman and everybody on her show. She's so gracious and generous with everybody as well. And you just feel that when you watch the show. So I think I'd been... I think I was in Vegas and doing my show, and we did this Greek number in Vegas, which is the number that I ended up doing on the show. And I didn't do a sketch, probably just as well for them. But I'm trying to think back. It just happened. It was a wonderful thing to do, and again, I just keep saying because of her. I mean, really, because of her. You know, the last time I saw her in person in life was when Hollywood High School honored a street at the school last night because she's a graduate of Hollywood High School, and the PR guy is a friend of mine. So I went by. There were tons of press there for her, but I got to say hello to Carol, and she's so gracious. Oh, George! I mean, she's that kind of person. She's warm and she's. It's easy to say this because it really is the truth. And I probably know maybe 3 people. Shirley Jones is another one. I've known Shirley for a while. But they're warm and gracious and friendly. And that's Carol Burnett, too. Yeah. Shirley was on the show, and Jack was in the audience, and they introduced him looking dashing and handsome, you know. He was funny and... Shirley and I at that time, and maybe Jack as well, were managed by a woman whose name was Ruth Aarons, and Ruth was pretty funny herself, and she used to say about Jack, oh, he has a separate suitcase just for his ties, because he was a great dresser. Yeah, Shirley and Jack did an act together in Vegas, and they each had their own dresser. Shirley had singers and Jack had singers, and the opening act was Joan Rivers. And when they came back, Ruth told me that Joan Rivers said to them, with what this act is costing you, you must be cooking in your room. I think the first time I met Shirley was at the Academy Awards in 1962, because she presented me with my Academy Award. Because she had won the previous year for Elle McGantry. And I was nominated for 61 in 1962 for West Side Story, and the Best Supporting Actress of the previous year always gives the honor, to the Best Supporting Actor of the next year. So it was Shirley, and I was the next year. So that was a sweet way to meet her, of course, and I've known her ever since. Carol was a regular on the Gary Moore Show, and the 2 girls who put me up on the couch in their living room knew Carol. So my recollection of this is kind of dim, but it seems to me that I went with Drusilla, one of the girls, and with Carol to see West Side Story at the Rivoli Theater in New York. I mean, I wouldn't swear to that, but it's kind of a vague recollection. And but then, of course, Carol, after that, did so much. The first time I played Vegas was, I think, 1968 at Caesar's Palace, and that was, one of the numbers we thought, I'm great, okay, let's do a great number. So we did, and in the act, I just had 4 people. And on Carol's show, we had everybody. So it was extended and bigger and really, really very, very nice. So I remember now that Tony, the fellow who played the bouzouki, he was with us in Vegas too. And you know, the bouzouki is a famous instrument in Greek music, so it was a great way to start the number. All things Greek are kind of nice, and I've never made anyway, just because I'm not heavy on the Greek sort of thing really, but I knew my mother and father, for example. I remember another thing. My father, I didn't know what the air date on that show was going to be, but it happened to be coincidentally my father's birthday when it aired. I'm just remembering this very, very vaguely now. So in those days, or now, people say, "Oh, let me say hello to my father," or something like that. I never thought I could do something like that. I thought, no, I can't do that. It's a show. I can't step out of the fourth corner wall, so to speak, and say hello to the audience. So I didn't do that. But well, hey, my parents were just proud no matter what I did. I mean, they were really. I was lucky with my parents because my brothers and sisters and I, no matter what we choose to do, we had the full support of our mother and father. They never said, "Oh, why do you want to do that? Why do you be a doctor?" You know, we never got that. And so it was when I talk to people in the business now and again about, because a lot of people don't have that experience. They got resistance from families, and probably even maybe more so now, because probably more difficult now. So many more people in the business, and it's so different. But I had perfect and beautiful support from my mother and father, and they were in the audience, by the way, on the Academy Award night. So it was nice, going back to being Greek. She's musical. I mean, she sings and she moves. I mean, so these are natural gifts that she has that she was able to use to this incredible way. So she is. I mean, she's just really truly gifted. Being musically gifted is probably allows you, without even thinking about it, is an instinct, probably, maybe, I'm guessing, even in physical comedy as well. Just moving, because there are a lot of wonderful actors, actresses, and so on, but they're not necessarily have a natural gift for movement and a musical gift. And Carol has all that, and of course, much more. I remember Ernie from the American School of Dance taking tap lessons from him, and he was wonderful. Gosh, I didn't get to know Ernie very well, but he was a really wonderful choreographer himself, and I remember the tap classes. We had to learn everything at the school, so tap, jazz, modern, ballet. Ballet was my favorite, but Ernie, he did a number for Mitzi Gaynor in Anything Goes, and where she sings that number and does that number. It's such a great number. Well, Mitzi, I mean, come on, you know. But Ernie staged. He really was able to stage a beautiful number for Mitzi and probably for other performers as well. But he made the Greek number much better by using the dances on Don Crichton and all these wonderful people on the show. I think we always figured everybody on the Carol Burnett Show was really lucky to be on the Carol Burnett Show. So I sort of thought, I wish I was one of those dancers, you know. I haven't known Don Crichton well, but I've been on different things with Don. He's wonderful, and I'm trying to. I remember his name, and Bonnie Evans. I remember Bonnie. Gosh, it's Old Home Week. It's Don, and might have been a couple of others who were featured sometimes a little bit more. So we had a chance to see them more than everybody else. In those days, I think Rita did the Perry Como show, and I did the Gary Moore show. So that's how the variety appearances kind of started. Didn't do many of them, but that was our, they sent us to New York to promote West Side Story. The theater always feels great, because somehow with the theater, with something, with that feeling, a proscenium stage, with the audience out there, you can kind of forget about cameras. It's nice to, and then some people are really good at that, knowing the camera and all. I've never been good at that, so it's easier to not think about it. When I did the Gary Moore show, it was choreographed by Ernie Flatt, who of course ended up doing Carol's show. And there was a dance number that I was supposed to do, and for some reason, I can't remember why I ended up not doing it, so I just sang a song, something that I'd recorded in London at that time. It ain't necessarily so. That's all I did on that show. That show was, I guess, a 3-camera show, and it wasn't a theater. You were on a stage. So it didn't feel like television. It felt like a live stage performance, and it was, actually. I think it's a shame that they ever stopped, so to speak, and maybe now they come back in the form of Dancing with the Stars or something. But it's not the same. It's not the same. I think the public is ready for that again, and it'd be nice if somebody did it. But I suppose I don't know how things happen or why they don't happen. I suppose it's all ratings and all that kind of stuff, and people are afraid to take a chance just in case. Although they take chances all the time, but. The variety shows were, well, and especially the Dean Martin show, the Perry Como show before that, Carol's show. I mean, these were things that we looked forward to every week. I mean, you stayed home because you wanted to see that show on that night, and you didn't go out because it was a big deal, and it was so wonderful to see. I think people are ready for that. I think they always have been, and it's a shame that networks, that they're what they put out there does change. Of course, things do change, but I mean, speaking for myself, if there was a variety show now, a really good one now on a weekly basis, hey, I would be watching it, absolutely. The Dinah Shore show. I mean, all of this was great stuff, and with really talented people at the head of it. Dinah and Dean Martin was so much fun to watch. And Carol, I mean, Perry, these are just speaking of Carol specifically, I mean, these are just extraordinary people, and not just because I'm here with you, but Carol is just such an exception. I think just as a person to start with, and I think that's what we feel. That's what audiences feel from her, that opening part of her show where she would talk to the audience. They love that. They feel it was a beautiful inclusion of them as well. And I think when audiences, I think the people that, I'm speaking for myself again, but I'm sure not just for myself, if I can sense that I like that person, even I may never know them, never ever meet. If I like them, I want to watch them and I want to spend time with them, and that's what Carol has. She has that extreme, beautiful, wonderful likability. I mean, that's not a good enough word, but it's beautiful to spend time with someone like that. You can't see Carol on anything. If she's being interviewed without liking her. It's just not possible. I didn't know it at the time, but I've been told since that was the last episode of The Partridge Family that I've... So, yes, that Murder, She Wrote, Hawaii Five-0, that was a really good show. What else? Wonder Woman. I mean, everybody did everything at that time. It was important exposure, first of all, and some of them were more fun than others. But that was the kind of episodic television at that time. Murder, She Wrote was a very popular show. I don't know for how long, a long time. And another person who's very likable, Angela Lansbury. How can you not like her? And I think that's the reason that show was as successful as it was, because the person at the helm is someone that we like to spend time with. I'm so glad we had this time together, just to laugh a while, sing a song.